Let's look at some more typical examples of what you would typically think when I say the word function. So if we have a function from the integers to the integers, defined by f of x is equal to x, is it a function? Well, with this one, we should actually maybe think of some examples, right? So we should plug in integers and see if we will always get integers out, right? So if we, let's say, let f of x be 0, let's plug 0 in, what are we going to get out? We're going to get out 0. So we put an integer in, we got an integer out. Okay, that's good. Let's try a positive integer, 1, right? Well, if we put 1 in, we're going to get 1 out. That's also an integer. If we put 2 in, we're going to get 2 out. If we put 127 in, we're going to get 127 out. Let's try some negative numbers. If we put, for example, negative 1 in, we should just get negative 1 out. If we put in negative 232, we're going to get negative 232 out. Okay, so it looks like it's probably going to be a function, but again, what am I thinking when I'm doing this? I'm thinking of our definition. Our definition means must be a subset of, in this case, our domain and codomain is going to be the Cartesian product of the integer sets. It must be every x in our domain is mapped, and every x is mapped to 1 y. Okay, so does it meet all three criteria? Well, I just checked the first criteria where I'm making sure that when you put something in as an integer, you get an integer out as we need it. I can't think of any integer that you would put in where you would not get an integer out. So it's looking like the first statement is true. This also means vicariously the second point is true because I can't think of something that would not be mapped by this. So it looks like any number you put in, any integer, you put in, is going to be mapped onto another integer here. And finally, does every integer map to one thing in the codomain? So if I plug in, for example, f of 7, I should only get one answer back, 7. There should not be two possible equally right answers. It shouldn't be something like negative 7 and positive 7, right? It should just be one thing. And the answer is true. It looks like everything I plug in only has one solution. So it looks like this is in fact going to be a function. Another way to have checked this is you can maybe try graphing this and using your high school method of the vertical line test. So here I'm going to have our function. Now this is a function from an integer to an integer, which means we can't really draw a continuous line. But if you were to draw this, you would notice that, as you can see here, the dots don't seem to be on top of each other, because the vertical line test you want it to pass is that if I draw a vertical line over any dot, there isn't going to be some other dot down here that's going to cross. It should only cross one dot here. And that does in fact appear to be true for this case.